living in your town. Damn. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town. Are you scared of aliens?
Hello, weirdos out there in Weirdo Land. It is great to be with all of you. It's the Weird Whatever podcast. We've got almost a full team. We've got a sweet Denny's, a Beckett, a Vicky, no Joe Ponton. His son is sick, so we wish him all of the best and happy health and quick recovery and all that good stuff. Ain't that right, Beckett?
I love it.
Well, let's just get into it real quick. A lot of stuff is in the sky of late. And what the heck is going on? President Biden talked today about what it was. I personally saw him talk about it. I have more questions.
Yeah, I watched him talk about it.
I don't know if you saw any of it, Vicky.
I was at work.
Catch us up on what
he
they
was
were talking
intentionally ambiguous, and they said the intelligence agencies more or less are working on, what it is. And then they said, one was an octagon, one was the Chinese weather balloon. They gave the altitudes. One was like a metallic balloon, I think. But it begs the question, which has been bipartisan. Just tell us it's not UFOs or aliens. Just say it.
Just say it off.
And if you're not saying it, why aren't you saying it?
Well, here's the thing. Here's how you make it sound UFO. Hexagon, octagon, not talking any kind of a gon to a shape, and you don't know what's going on. It makes it sound a little suspect. No?
We've learned with especially the American public, if there's a vacuum of information, people will fill it as they wish.
I'm not saying
with anything.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's UFOs or aliens or all that stuff. I'm just saying when you don't come out and just give the people what they want and then not take questions after about it, it'd be like Vicky says all this shit and you go, well, I have a question about that. I have a question. And then she just walks away and you can't get an answer. Look, you were shooting down shit over American soil that was flying over American soil. This is the time to be over detailed.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we pride ourselves on in democracy. We're not a autocracy. We're not a dictatorship. We're for the people, by the people. Not to get on my soapbox, but yeah, be transparent. Because if you're not transparent, people start to freak out.
They do.
Are we on live, Denny's?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just making sure. Just want to make sure. Welcome everybody in the chat room as well. Thank you guys for joining us.
I just shared it on the social medias.
It is great to have everybody here. Now, Vicky, I had something fly over by my house the other night, and I thought it was weird. It was something that was quite stationary. It would pulsate at times, kind of like, I don't know, it was talking to something and communicating, and then it just disappeared.
Do you want me to pull the clip up for the people watching?
That would be amazing, Denny's. Thank you very much. I got a lot of people backing me up on that, and that's the good thing. When you see something and you don't, you start to. I was kind of feeling crazy for a minute, and this is what Steve from Palm Beach Gardens wrote. Bird, I just want to say I saw the same thing in Palm Beach Gardens the other night at the same time you saw it. It was stationary, like you said, and it pulsated, and then it took off into the night. I just wanted to say that I believe you. And it's not the best footage because it was pretty far away. It wasn't a planet, because planets, if it was a planet, it would still be there, Vicky, in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I saw something. I used to see something quite frequently, exact same description, when I lived at my mom's house. And my mom's house was where I was living that time that I actually physically saw that UFO that was not more than 100 feet in the air. And it was the same thing, like it would pulsate and it would, like it was doing code or whatever, and then it was like you turn down the lights for a little bit and wait, and then it would come back on and it would do the thing. It used to happen a lot. I don't go outside my house now too often, so I can't say that I've ever seen it at my current house, but I used to see it all the time, something very similar at my mom's house.
And the reason why I didn't think it was a drone, it didn't move. It was so stationary to the point almost as if it was on a T. And then, boom, it takes off. I don't know. I'm not saying, again, it's aliens. We're just living in a time now where there's a lot of shit going on in the skies.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was standing out. I was on the porch. I was smoking, and it was me and my friend. And I see this thing coming in a very odd pattern. About, it seemed like this big. But it was coming towards us, and I go, oh, my gosh, this is a UFO. But as it kept approaching it, the size didn't change. It was still the same size. It was a police drone doing scouts of a neighborhood.
Wow.
That's at my place.
Oh my God!
Remember back? Is it the same place?
Yeah, the same one. I was on your old porch. Well, if I had run in before seeing it and then came out and it had drove away or drove past, I wouldn't have seen what it was. That's something that looked like a UFO because of how odd the movement was.
You're right. There's a lot of stuff in the air, from SpaceX satellites, right, to what is it called, SpaceLink or something like that, with their Wi-Fi. You have different orbits of satellites. Now you have scientists in foreign countries with weather balloons. You got
Dude.
drones everywhere. People can just buy them at Walmart or Amazon. You're flying a drone around.
I see a drone every day of my life now. I never go a day where I don't see one because I live near a field and people go out there and they constantly fly them. And I mean, you're flying them over neighborhoods. They have the big camera screens on it, so they're just watching on the. It's
Yeah.
crazy. They can go anywhere.
I had a drone follow my Jeep out of my neighborhood. I was watching it follow me along. We're at that point. Your boy, Elon Musk, he's got a star fleet. The shit he releases out into space, it looks like Star Wars. If you didn't know what was going on and you looked up at the sky, you would think, holy shit, they're here. It's happening, Vicky.
Yep. And, you know, going back to the government being vague, that reminds me of when I used to answer essay questions and I really didn't know the answer to it, but I used so much vocabulary that it would fool the teacher and I'd get an A. I think they really don't know. So that's why, you know, there's a lot of vagueness, there's a lot of tap dancing, there's a lot of sidestepping because I don't think they conclusively know anything.
I think that is true on a lot of the UFO stuff. And I'm talking about the sightings where you really can't tell the difference. I think we, as the military, I feel like we have discovered UFO stuff. I do believe we've reverse engineered stuff to get to the level we're at with our military, with any of the military humans can do, and any kind of planes, jets, but that came from somewhere, in my opinion.
No, 100%. It's one thing if you see it up in the air or an aircraft pilot sees something weird, whatever, but we shot these things down, right? We can dig bones up in Egypt and figure out what they are,
they should be able to
who
trace.
they are, when they were, and all that stuff. So the things that they're shooting down that didn't just fly off and you're not really sure, but something that actually you should be able to recover that and be like, all right, these are earthbound elements. You know, they should know within, you know, with our technological capability within a day. Or is it from, you may not know exactly the motive and things like that, but you should know, hey, this was a weather balloon. Hey, this was nefarious or might be nefarious. This is earthbound elements, or this is something that we don't recognize from Earth.
Today it just reminded me back in the day when I was really into wrestling, Vicky, and one of my wrestling got real shitty, and you would anticipate, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm hearing this new, or this wrestler's coming back, and it's going to be a great episode. So for a week, you're just all ginned up about, oh man, this wrestler's going to come back. And then when it airs, the wrestler doesn't come back, or if he does or she does, it's so lame and shitty, and you watch it and go, well, fuck this. That's how I felt today watching. I wanted more answers. And again, I'm not trying to turn this into a political thing. I can give a shit about all that. I'm alien guy. I'm UFO guy. You talk about shooting shit over American soil. I'm going to be a little kid and go, well, why did this happen? And what about this? And what about that? I want so many answers to so many questions. And when I saw that, I felt like I already had a case of blue balls.
Right.
And they just got even bluer, Denny's.
Oh, jeez.
You had UFO interrupt us? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I did, exactly. I wanted, it's kind of like if you're getting cheated on and they're being all vague and they're giving you okay answers, but they're not going into
You're not
details.
Just gaslighting
Yeah,
it.
like, fuck this, man. I want to know, what did you shoot down? Why did you shoot it down? Why did you take so long to shoot this down? And this was so quick to, I don't know.
What was the big finale everyone was pissed off about? Was it Sopranos? It left
Sopranos.
unanswered questions, and everyone was so loyal to that show. The people that liked that show was so loyal, and that finale, to your point, everyone had blue balls leading up to it, and then it was like Finn at the end. You know what I mean? It was just done, and you're like, what? Like that didn't match up with how the rest of all these shows have led up to.
There's a documentary called I Know What I Saw. And it is, in my opinion, one of the best alien UFO documentaries, they interview so many people in the military, and they have military face where they look like they feel guilty for 10 years if they laugh at a joke. They're that serious.
Right.
They are talking about extraordinary things that they've seen or experienced, and there's no explanations.
Yeah.
And they are in that world. They know what's capable of being built and flying around. And they go back from the 70s, 80s, 90s.
And today?
Yeah. Right. Fuck, I sound like a cheesy radio station. And today, best of today.
Well, the one that was really compelling to me that I think we talked about is the one that the guy used to work at Area 54, and then he went into hiding.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't want to get interviews.
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar. That one really kind of put me on my head a little bit because that was real weird.
To me, the case that just blows my mind away, and I really urge everyone to Google and YouTube and research it, is the Zimbabwe case of the kids at school. I've told you guys about how there were so many kids and so many adults at this school in Zimbabwe. A craft landed at the school where beings came out. There are so many eyewitnesses of this extraordinary event. That's the last time I'll say extraordinary. This unbelievable event. And none of their stories changed. These are kids that they were from different cultures, different backgrounds, different ages, adults alike, and they all had the same story when you brought them in separate rooms. They all drew what these aliens look like. They had an experience that it's really hard to explain. And even skeptics have a tough time explaining it. I know we've got a shit ton of skeptics. Do you remember the story I'm talking about, Vicky?
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh, I really recommend you guys look into this story. It's a case I feel like it's hard to dispute when it comes to UFOs and aliens. 1994, the Zimbabwe case. It's at a school. It'll come right up.
Right.
It's amazing stuff.
Interesting.
Really great. I know I've talked about it before. I don't think I sold it well enough. I'm selling that shit right now.
One of the things that, I've traveled to some remote locations, and what's always amazing to me is understanding and appreciating light pollution, right? Like, when you wake up in the morning and you were listening to the TV the night before at a certain volume, and you wake up and you're like, I can't believe I was listening to it like that, because your ears are desensitized. In these rural areas, the stars in the sky, it almost looks like people have flashlights pointing them down. It's so bright. Mm-hmm. So even when we're in West Palm Beach, Florida, there's so much light pollution. It's almost harder to pick up things in the sky. So I'm interested, maybe like places like Zimbabwe, it sounds like they landed, but like people have the ability to see things way better in rural areas.
It's a great point. I love that. You're right. We are very blinded by the city lights. Vicky, do you feel like there's a connection to UFO, alien, paranormal, ghost world?
There's a lot of people that do say that some entities that we've identified as being paranormal, some people think that they're actual aliens. One of those is shadow people. There is a school of thought that shadow people, because they appear first in a person's childhood and then they come back and check on you periodically through your life, that they're possible aliens instead of, a spirit type entity.
And I just posed this question, kind of like electricity. We didn't know it was there, but baby, it was there if you tapped into it. Wouldn't you say there might just be, for shits and giggles, in that paranormal world or that realm, maybe there's just something we can't quite see yet as humans? We're pretty young in the grand scheme of everything.
Gravity was a debated thing a long time ago until the apple hit Newton on the head, right? Like,
Galileo, how dare you?
Right.
It's just you were always crazy with these, religion and then the stars and all that stuff. As soon as something's proven to not to be real or to not be real, we have a debate to talk about. You have to almost kind of go back and say, oh, I didn't mean it this way. I meant it that way, Vicky.
Well, one of the few people who have a paranormal show who have called things alien creatures is Amy Allen on the Dead Files. There's times, if you've ever watched the show, she does a walkthrough and she connects with everything that's there. And she has on episodes say, these are aliens. They are not of this world. These are aliens. And they are attracted to such and such, and they are watching you and blah, blah, blah. So she's one of the few paranormal people that do a ghost type show that has spoken of aliens.
Denny, we were talking about ghosts, and aliens, different realms of the the planet. Thoughts?
Well, so science fiction writer H.P. Lovecraft often depicts aliens as something we can't even process by seeing, to the fact where they don't even appear to us. They're there always, but you can't, unless you possess the knowledge of it, there's no way of ever seeing them. So there's a lot of stories where they kind of just, it almost feels like a haunting of some sort, but it's really the presence of aliens in an area that usually drives people mad in his story. So, I mean, it is an interesting thought to think that, you know, if you feel presence and stuff, it could actually just be aliens hiding amongst us.
But much like electricity, Denny's, and I really kind of feel like you are the resident skeptic now. We've turned back in. We turned our unicorn. I feel, would it blow you away completely? Are you just going, holy shit, I can't believe this, if you were to find out, like in electricity, there is a different realm, whether it be a different dimension, it be spirit, it be aliens?
I'm definitely not against it. It would probably explain a lot of things, you know, because there are things that, I mean, to even have the genre of something that's paranormal, something has to have happened that doesn't tend to happen. So to even... that's such a deep embedded thing in our culture. It would be nice to have an explanation to why people do feel those things. And some people, like maybe when you first have a ghost experience or an alien experience, maybe it's like lightning, where you do get more likely to experience that same thing again for whatever reason. Maybe because it's your eyes are now open to that concept, to where if you're turned off from it, maybe it's a lot harder for that to happen to you. I don't know. I don't know if it's like lightning. I think
it is. Once you've been exposed, you're more likely to keep having encounters.
It's kind of like porn.
Okay.
I think there's a good possibility with a third kind that there is potentially more enlightenment, right? So whether they're connected to the paranormal or not, I think that if they're traveling the speed of light from other solar systems, it's probably corollary that they also have a better understanding of the afterlife.
And you know what happened? But what if it's this? Everyone always likes to say they're either here to kill us, or they're either here to love us, or they're here to sleep with us. What if it's this? Kind of like, I don't know, Earth, different species. There's more than just one. Maybe there's the grays that everyone talks about. Maybe there's the lizard people talk about. What I'm saying is maybe there's just more to it than just A or B.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time, about a multitude of issues, whether it's political or life or whatever. People like binary. It's one or the other. When it always, generally speaking,
Coke and Pepsi.
is nuanced.
McDonald's or Burger King.
It's totally nuanced.
Pizza Hut or Domino's.
Well, what if we think of them as being from another dimension or from outer space? What if they've just lived here all along and we just haven't seen them? They just have some really cool aircraft. But what if they've been here? What if they're of Earth? What if they've been here the entire time?
It's what Vicky speaks of. It's a growing popular theory that whether they're Middle Earth, and we're talking about the Antarctica, places where humans can't really get down on, but maybe they're able to build something in Antarctica which has really not been legit deep dove into and discovered. There's secrets in Antarctica. There's a lot to unwrap there in that area. Same thing with volcanoes too. I get that we can't go into volcanoes. There's a growing theory where UFOs could go into volcanoes to charge up the energy. Just because we can't do it doesn't mean they can't.
Well, they might be unaffected by temperature or even water. Maybe it doesn't even affect them.
It's a growing theory, what Vicky's saying, that they're here, they're in like an electricity, they're in a dimension we have not tapped into, and that they are smarter, Beckett. That they've got more education with how this whole thing works, and they're able to come and go. It's just a theory. I know it's an out there theory.
Well, going back to history, some things that we claim like we're all smart and whatever, but we're smart because the people before us learned things, right? And we're like, can you believe they believed in that? They're so dumb. Well, no, they were probably a similar level of IQ. They just didn't have the background of knowledge.
Well,
right?
At the time, they were smart.
To build on, and any time in human history where we can't explain something, we make up, more or less, ways to explain
We
it.
fill it in.
Whether
yeah.
it's a god of the sea or whatever, until science backfills that and it becomes an actual answer to it, right?
But everyone jumps on it. Scientists jump on it. People develop old tales about what happened, and it becomes a story or a lore.
Human psychology doesn't like uncertainty.
It absolutely does.
And I think that's what really scares people about aliens is the uncertainty. Because, not to sound overly simplistic, they're here for some reason.
Yeah, what's the motive?
And it's not an easy trip.
Buttholes.
That'd be like me showing up in my sailboat like on the coast of Africa, and they'd be like, "You just coming to hang?" Like there's got to be a reason.
Yeah.
I'm with Vicky.
I'm not
on that.
necessarily here for a reason. I just got stuck here, I mean, I don't think they necessarily have to have a purpose. And I think there's the personalities that want to know and they don't want things. And then there's personalities like mine, and I'll say you too, that we love the mystery and all that kind of stuff that comes with things like UFOs and ghosts and all that.
I have been actively practicing meditation to communicate with aliens and UFOs. Now, I know that sounds silly, and I'm not expecting anything to happen. I'm really not. But I said, hey, let me just try this practice. It's a real practice that people do. Let me see if anything happens with it. So we're gonna give it a try. Already got a video. Some weird shit was outside my house. I'm not saying it worked, Beckett.
Yeah.
Don't send me no fucking
It's
long
worth a
ass
try.
email. Don't send me the long emails. I get it sounds crazy. I think it would be cool to put some of kind of like moon water. I don't believe in moon water, but we tried it to see if it worked. We put the water out there, let it absorb with the moon. Maybe it does work, maybe it doesn't. I say we try this shit out.
Yeah, why not?
If it's good enough for our ancestors, why is it not good enough for us?
We can't even figure out water on this planet, right? Like we're at droughts across the United States. We're trying to eco shape Mars and the
That's
moon.
why I'm like, why would you even go to Mars and try to put water there where we already have issues with water?
Can I answer that question? What if it's not because we want to? What if it's because we have to? Hear me out on that.
That's Elon Musk.